So I might go off camera and sit with her while we do this.
All right. Thanks for joining. Mayor Pace, how are you?
Hey, Stephen, how's it going?
Trying to keep track of everybody as they're popping up here.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, we are a couple minutes over, and I don't see the chair yet. Vice Chair, do you want to go ahead and kick us off?
The first item is public comment. Do I have that right, Stephen?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and call the meeting?
Oh, yes. Welcome, everyone. Calling the meeting to order for the WCC meeting, November 17th, 2025. Welcome, everybody. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any? Do I have the right agenda, Stephen?
Yes, we didn't have anyone who signed up in advance, and we didn't have any written comments that were submitted.
Okay.
If there's anyone who's in the attendees who's interested in speaking, you can use the raise hand feature now. And I'm not seeing any raised hands.
Okay. I'm moving to the second item, introductions and roll call. Can we have a roll call, Stephen?
We'll do that. So as usual, we'll go in order of jurisdiction. So for City of Banks, I was trying to put check marks next to you as I saw you all coming on. So I saw Mayor Kirk is with us.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Beaverton, I saw Mayor Beatty. For Cornelius, Mayor Delane. Yep,
Present.
saw you. Thank you. I don't believe we have anyone from Durham, so we'll keep an eye open. Forest Grove, Mayor Wenzel.
Here.
I think I saw you. Thank you. Hillsborough, Mayor Pace. Of
Here.
course. Thank you. King City, do we have Mayor Kazmersky? All right, we'll keep an eye out for her. North Plains, Council President Dumbro.
Yep, here.
Thank you. Is that the right pronunciation?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. And let's see. I think we're still on the lookout for Mayor Rosner. Keep an eye out. For Tigard, Mayor who?
Here.
Thank you. For Tualatin, Mayor Bupanik.
Present.
Thank you. Wilsonville, I don't think we have Mayor O'Neill here. I think so we'll keep an eye out. And then for Washington County Commissioner Fye, who mentioned she'll be off camera for a little while.
Okay.
So we have
I'm
a quorum. Let
present.
me. Oh, I'm sorry.
She said she was present.
Oh, great. Thank you. And then our non-voting members, I saw Councilor Rosenthal from Metro.
Yes.
Thank you. Stephanie Turner from ODOT.
Yep.
Thank you. Dan Eisenbeis from Port of Portland. I think we had Dan earlier. We'll keep an eye out. And then TriMet, John Sarah. I see you, John. Thanks for being here.
Present. Thanks, Stephen.
Okay. And then I see we have someone named Adam. Is that Adam Cunningham?
Yeah, apologies. I'll update my title.
And are you filling in today for Mayor O'Neill?
I wasn't planning to. I was planning to just attend and observe, but I can if needed.
Okay. Yeah, if you're willing to do that, that'd be great.
Sure.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. Okay. With that, that's the roll call. And we do
Thank
have a
you.
quorum.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that. Moving to item 3, action items. The first item is consideration of the meeting minutes from last meeting. Do we have any questions about the meeting minutes from last meeting? Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Wenzel. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mayor Kirk. Really appreciate that. Moving to item 3B, the Farmington Road Concept Plan Overview and MSTIP Large Project Match Expenditure Request. Who will be presenting on that?
I'm going to do a quick kickoff, and then I'm going to turn things over to Diami Valentine, who's our transportation planning section manager, and he'll walk through the presentation. So this is sort of a hybrid item. This is both a briefing, kind of an information item, but then it's got an actual action item embedded with it. And so this is the first time that we're requesting, or any jurisdiction has requested, the use of the MSTIP large project match funds. So for those of you that were here with us 18 months ago, this body recommended approval to the board of the MSTIP 3F funding allocation. And a new program that we identified in that funding allocation was this large project match request, or this large project match fund. So it's similar to the Opportunity Fund, but tailored to 5 specific projects and generally intended probably for larger match requests. So Diami's going to walk us through the Farmington Road Concept Plan, which is the project for which the county is putting forward a request for large project match funding. So we'll give you an overview of that project, just so you're familiar with that, and then we'll provide a little bit of background on the large project match fund itself, and then put forward our request as the county for those funds. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Diami.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, yeah.
I'm just making sure I didn't have a stroke or something. I heard a first and a second, but I didn't hear a vote on the minutes.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Mayor Delaney.
Okay, I didn't have a stroke. That was the first most important thing to me. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Would have been great if I just said yeah, and then you would have been freaked out for the rest of the meeting. But
absolutely.
going back to item 3A, we had a motion and a second. Can we have all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Delaney, for staying on top of that. I really appreciate that. And now we'll head over to the Farmington Road Concept Plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, WCCC members. As Stephen mentioned, my name is Diami Valentine. I'm the Transportation Planning Section Manager. And we can move to the next slide, please. And I think Stephen did a nice job providing the overview here. We did want to note, we did send out an updated or a revised memo to the group on Friday. Worth noting is that the WCCC TAC took action on a lower MSTIP large project match expenditure request of $10 million. We have since revised that request to $11.1 million based on information that we received from ODOT and further refinement of our proposal. So that will be shared with you today. And think we can go to the next slide. Well, just a little more context on this slide, sorry. So if you are not familiar with the section of the corridor of Farmington Road that we're speaking of, it's in Aloha. They are circled in red, highlighted between Kinnaman Road on the east end and 209th, 209th Avenue on the west end, so South Hillsborough, Cooper Mountain, and Beaverton Incorporated. It kind of lies within unincorporated Aloha. So we can move to the next slide now. Thank you. So the Farmington Road Concept Plan, this was a joint effort funded with Transportation and Growth Management Grant. So in partnership with ODOT closely throughout this project. Farmington Road today, if you're familiar with it, is one of those highways that, or ODOT designated highway. It's a two-lane, primarily two-lane facility that is serving both regional and local traffic that has substandard bike lanes and sidewalks. It is designated as a high entry corridor and has been identified as a priority for improvement by the Aloha community for many years now. So with the support of the TGM grant, we were able to conduct a deeper dive into what the needs were and what the desired type of improvement for that section of Farmington Road. And we really focused on engaging with community and had a support with a technical advisory committee. So we coordinated with the cities and various agency partners, and also a stakeholder advisory committee, which was chaired by Commissioner Fye, to help develop a context-sensitive design, really focused on a number of goals, but improving safety and mobility for all users. And through that effort, we produced a planning level cost estimate and has really helped informed the development of this jurisdictional transfer proposal, and will hopefully help lead to securing additional funding for that, either through this or through other efforts. Next slide, please. So just give a little bit more context to the facility that we looked at in the study area. It did include a couple segments. So back in 1998, there was an agreement with ODOT and between ODOT and Washington County that outlined desire and intent to transfer the jurisdiction of Farmington west of Murray. And segments have been transferred over time, and this is the last remaining segment between Kinnaman and 198th. And so the concept plan looked at a slightly larger extent so that we have a full, consistent corridor design, preferred design alternative. And but that section between Kinnaman and 198th is the subject of the jurisdictional transfer. Next slide, please. And so the concept, the planning level design concept envisions the desire for a 3-lane cross section. So adding a center turn lane, which will really help in terms of improving mobility and safety, especially for turning movements. There were a lot of rear end accidents that we documented in this corridor. We also having a safer, more protected environment for people biking and walking with a separated facility, a shared use facility that would provide clear delineation between the modes, but also be further separated from vehicular traffic by the planting strip. So this is kind of the locally preferred alternative that we winnowed down from 3 different alternatives, and had some good conversations with community and users around this particular type of treatment. And or I think that we can go to the next slide. So our consultants prepared a planning level cost estimate. This is probably on the low end, recognizing that costs have increased even since we probably pulled this together. But the full project to implement that type of a cross section for the full study area was about 85 million. The cost estimate for the ODOT segment is about 58 million, and is the basis for our large project match and the jurisdictional transfer proposal. Next slide, please. A little bit about the jurisdictional transfer process. So this is somewhat new. House Bill 2793 established the Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee. You're probably all familiar. Jurisdictional transfers happen piecemeal and have happened somewhat ad hoc. And so this advisory committee is now kind of a central repository for larger kind of jurisdictional transfer proposals. They had their kind of initial round of soliciting proposals this last biennium, I believe. They received two requests at that time, Hall Boulevard and a proposal out in Hood River, were reviewed and recommended for legislative consideration. They consider a number of things as they review proposals: roadway function, really the cost to transfer, and community support. So having gone through a kind of public process to identify kind of a preferred alternative. And the expectation is that there's a clear partnership with ODOT. And so we've, been involved with them throughout this process. And the JTAC, or the Jurisdictional Transfer Advisory Committee, they provide kind of an annual report to the legislature on their list of priorities. So this will be taken into consideration once we submit following December 12th deadline. They will review the applications and provide a recommendation to the Oregon Transportation Committee and a report to the Joint Transportation Committee later in 2026. And action on those would be obviously legislatively directed. And I think the next opportunity for consideration will be the 2027 legislative session. So we wouldn't anticipate any type of action on any funding for jurisdictional transfer until that time. Next slide, please. This table is directly out of the application. So it goes through an exercise to identify, what's that locally preferred alternative, what type of, if any, there is kind of ODOT committed funding for the facility. And so ODOT has identified about 2 million in ADA improvements, specifically for the corridor that are remaining, which establishes kind of the 55.5 million baseline for the proposal. And so the expectation is that there would be a local share of 20% contributing to that, which establishes that's our large match request here of 11.1 million, which leaves a $44.4 million legislative ask effectively. Next slide, please. So Stephen mentioned a little bit about the large project match. This was part of the MSTIP 3F allocation, which had a $30 million set aside for these type of opportunities in particular, looking to leverage federal or state funding opportunities. And Farmington Road is one of the 5 projects that were eligible, in addition to 170th Avenue, 180th, 85th Avenue Max Light Rail Overcrossing, the Basalt Creek Parkway Extension, and the Beaverton Hillsdale Olson Shoals Ferry intersection. I think that was specifically for design and project development phase. And so the county's request is specifically to earmark 11.1 million of the 30 million for through the 2027 legislative session. So if there's no action, if the legislature doesn't direct funding towards this proposal during that session, then those funds would essentially be reverted back and become available for the other eligible projects at that time. Next slide. So next steps, we'll continue to firm up the proposal and in preparation for submitting the application. As far as the large match request, so we're seeking your recommendation today to the Board of County Commissioners, and they will take action on that recommendation at their December 2nd meeting in advance of the December 12th jurisdictional transfer application deadline. With that, happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Diami. Thanks, Diami, for the briefing. I really appreciate it. And Chair Rosner was able to join us, Mayor Rosner, so I'm going to turn it over to him to field the questions.
Yeah, thank you. And I apologize, everyone. I had Zoom issues and had to actually reload Zoom. So thank you, Mayor Pace, for stepping in. Any questions? Mayor Deline.
Thank you, Chair. Don't have a problem with the concept of this plan. I have a question on long-term sustainability of it. So this is a project in unincorporated Washington County. So who is going to sustain this project after the county builds this?
I'll jump in. So it's a county maintained road once the jurisdiction transfer happens. So we would be assuming the maintenance responsibility for that segment of roadway as well.
And my concern is like, yeah, that becomes a county burden, and it sure looks like an urban treatment for a rural area. And I think that's one of the discussions we've had over a long time, is the difference between urban and rural. This would be just one more of those things where you guys are taking on more burden, I think, than maybe explicitly your responsibility, right? If it smells like a city, looks like a city, probably should be a city. So that would be my sustaining concern on it. It's just it falls in with Bethany and Aloha, the whole deal there, that really, you're using countywide resources for what looks like a municipal necessity in a small area. So I'll pull my soapbox away. Thank you.
Yeah, I can maybe provide a little bit of information too, just in response to that. I think, reminder that obviously the MSTIP funds are countywide, so we do fund a lot of county roads in cities and city streets, and in this case, it's currently a state facility. In our transportation system plan, we have what we call the map of long-term county jurisdiction, and this roadway has long been on that map. And I would say our work with ODOT actually goes back at least to 1998. We have an agreement with ODOT at that time that said over time, our expectation was that ODOT would relinquish jurisdiction to the county with some caveats around providing some funding to help ensure that it could be brought up to a reasonable standard. And then our anticipation is it would just become a long-term county road obligation. So we'd be using county road fund. So the county share of the state gas tax and registration fees and that sort of thing for the ongoing maintenance costs. And the area is in the ODOT portion is entirely within the future Beaverton the Beaverton Urban Planning Area Agreement. So it's anticipated long-term as annexation occurs, this area would eventually be in the city of Beaverton. But the expectation for this road in particular is that it would remain a county managed facility.
Okay, those are all good responses, Stephen. I think I would lean over to Mayor Wenzel and ask her, did the county or the state pay to repave the nice, beautiful trail that runs along Highway 47, or did the city have to take that full burden?
I'm going to be real honest and say I don't know, because that hasn't been done, I don't think, since I've been elected mayor. But I do know that the county, like, we have a project coming up on 47 Fern Hill and Maple. Plus, then we also had a project 47 in Martin Road. So I can attest to the MSTIP funds being directed for District 4, which we really appreciate.
Cool, thanks.
Mayor Bubinek.
So Stephen and Diami, the 44.4 million, you said is an earmark. This is not currently included in ODOT's budget that was part of the legislative session.
That's correct. So this is prospective funding. So it's kind of like a grant in some ways. We're going to be working with ODOT to put this request forward to the to the Jurisdiction Transfer Committee, and then they ultimately make recommendations to the Oregon Transportation Commission. Assuming you get through those steps, then this could result in a future legislative funding allocation. So this is very much similar to a grant, prospective funding request. And that's one of the reasons that we structured this request so that it basically earmarks these funds through the end of the 2027 legislative session. Because if we don't secure the funding in that next legislative session, our expectation is these large project match funds roll back into the sort of unallocated funds and would be available for the other four, or potentially for this project, for a future request.
Because all the things I hear about the 2027 session is they're not going to be spending money, they're going to be cutting money. So
right.
If you get the money, good for you. If not, then it's good to hear the money goes back in the pot. Thanks.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, we have no illusions that this gets funded in 2027 either. I mean, it's one of those things where if you don't ask, you don't receive, and so
exactly.
We're putting forward the ask, and it wouldn't be a surprise to any of us if we have multiple requests that we have to make before this might rise to the top.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pace.
Thank you. I understand that we have $30 million in capital matching funds set aside for 5 projects. And 10 million is going to go to Farmington, which means 20 million is left for 4 other projects. And I feel like this money is overprescribed, and I'm very concerned. I'm worried. I want to protect our MSTIP funds, and I think some other projects are going to get squeezed out, and I'm concerned about it. And any project that gets squeezed out is going to result in safety issues. But I was wondering, what are we doing to protect this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when we were setting this funding request up, we always knew it was highly unlikely that we would be able to fund all 5 projects. We had just identified as across the county that these were 5 high priority projects. The climate was very different 18 months ago too, when we initiated this request. We were in the Biden administration, and there was all this sort of new funding that had come about through the IIJA and other federal legislation. So there was a much higher sense of optimism at that time that if we had these funds, we'd be able to go after some of those bigger federal grant programs. So obviously the feds have changed things up. Oregon, I would say it's very unlikely we'll receive any competitive grant funding for transportation, for the next, say, 3 years or so. So I think the climate's changed quite a lot, and I think the prospects for most of these projects have darkened quite a lot since these funds were put into place. And so, I guess in a succinct way, two things I would say. One was we never really expected we'd be able to fund all five of these projects with this amount of funding, and the idea was have five in there, whichever of them rises to the top, and the funding and the sort of the stars align, we go for it. And if they don't, the money just stays in the fund and can be rolled back over into a future round.
Okay. Thanks, Steven. It makes sense, but I don't like it.
Yeah, no, excellent question. But thank you.
Thanks.
All right, any other questions for Steven on this? Oh, seeing none, I think we will move on. And I apologize, Steven, I just lost my agenda here. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add before we moved on?
No, just that we'll want to take a vote on the request here.
Right. All right. Do I have a motion on making a recommendation to the county commissioners to approve this match as described?
So moved, Pace.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the recommendation, either raise your hand or say aye.
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 And all those opposed, raise your hand or say nay. All right, it looks like the motion passes. Thank you, everyone. And with that, we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which I believe is informational discussion, Washington County Microtransit Pilot Project Update. We have, and I pronounced this incorrectly, I apologize, Reza, is that how you?
It's Reza.
Reza, thank
Yeah.
you. We have Reza here today to give a presentation and overview of the new county plan. Welcome.
Great. Thank you for having us. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Yes, we're very excited to discuss our microtransit pilot project with you all. So just for introductions, my name is Reza Farhoodi. I'm a senior planner with Washington County, and I'm here with John Mira, who's a service planning supervisor with Ride Connection. John, are you on? Just want to confirm.
Yes, can you hear me, Reza?
Yep, great.
Great.
All right. So just to give it an overview of the presentation, we'll talk a bit about the statewide Transportation Improvement Fund, which is helping to fund this pilot project. We'll go over some of Washington County's existing transit services in partnership with Ride Connection. And then we'll discuss a bit of the parameters of the microtransit pilot project, the service operations, the service area, and transit connections we're hoping to provide, as well as our engagement and branding strategy, followed by next steps. So many of you will probably already know this, but just to give a quick overview of the STIF, House Bill 2017 enacted a 0.1% employee payroll tax to help fund public transit service operations across the state. As part of that legislation, we were designated as a public transportation service provider, primarily responsible for the rural area of the county, but we also oversee some of those first last mile connections, and John will talk more about those. As part of this, we designated, or we selected Ride Connection to be our contractor for these services. So STIF helps fund transit statewide to, maintain and expand the existing transit system, expand service to low-income households, provide more seamless connections across jurisdictions or regions, reducing that service fragmentation, and also improving frequency and reliability of those connections, and then providing transit service for students in grades 9 to 12. And we're hoping with this pilot project, we'll be helping to meet the needs of a few of these requirements. And I'm going to pass over to John to discuss the services that Ride Connection currently provides, as well as talk a bit about how microtransit will work in Washington County.
Thank you, Reza. And I'm excited to share some of the details on our microtransit pilot. But first, some of the services that we currently operate throughout the county. Couple of these community and job connectors that you'll see on the map, they predate House Bill 2017 and our relationship with Washington County. Westlink started around 2008, 2019, and then over the course of the next decade, we rolled out service in Forest Grove with the Grove Link, Tualatin with Tualatin Shuttle, and the North Hillsborough employment area with the North Hillsborough Link. These operate more or less as first last mile shuttles that can also deviate off routes. They have a little more service coverage than your typical fixed route. Many of these are funded through TriMet's regional coordination program. They pass on some of their STIF funds to Washington County and then Ride Connection. But as Reza mentioned, they receive STIF dollars, the county does, generated outside the TriMet Service District. That funds that Westlink intercity shuttle, as well as rural door-to-door service. In more recent years, STIF funding has allowed us to stabilize, but also expand existing services and also put new service on the road. Just last year, we introduced 3 new lines. That includes Cornelius Link in City of Cornelius, Bethany Link in the North Bethany Cedar Mill area, and then King City Link, which connects King City to Tiger, Durham, and finally Tualatin. Next slide. So why now are we focusing on microtransit? We put so much work into shuttles, community shuttles, employment shuttles. What Washington County has found in recent rounds of their transit development planning was there was a gap in transit service within some of the fast-growing areas in Southwest Beaverton, River Terrace, and the surrounding area. A lot of new housing going in. And they saw microtransit as a potential model to address near-term need there, especially the need until fixed route transit is available in the area. The county applied for a STIF discretionary grant and brought forward matching funds from the county that was ultimately awarded. And they leveraged their partnership with us at Ride Connection to be an operator of the pilot. We have a few goals with this project. First and foremost, we want to fill a gap in the transit network where there currently is no transit. And we want to connect people both to key destinations within the service area. But since the start, we've also wanted to make sure there's a connection to a TriMet transit hub, a transit center, so that people could get from microtransit to a fixed route bus or light rail that would take them anywhere in the region they need to get. We're also going to be collecting a lot of data with this pilot, and I'll get into how microtransit works and how we see that data coming in a little later. But we hope that data we get on ridership, demand by time of day and geographic location can inform future transit investments in the area. And lastly, we hope that this is successful and that if it is scalable and replicable for other areas in Washington County. We know that this Southwest Beaverton, River Terrace, Cooper Mountain area isn't the only transit gap in Washington County. And potentially there's other locations that would be a good fit for a microtransit service. So a little more how microtransit works. I think the closest analog or comparison that most people are familiar with is a Uber or a Lyft trip. You download an app to your phone, or in the case of our pilot, there will also be a phone-in option, and a customer will have an opportunity to set up a profile and then book a trip on demand in real time. They'll be able to track the vehicle on their phone as it approaches their pickup location and get picked up. Now, this being transit and subsidized transit, we want to make sure it operates efficiently and cost effectively. So our system, the software behind microtransit will pool rides wherever possible. So being on board as a customer, you might pick up or drop other riders off on the way, but ideally arrive at your destination, maybe not as quickly as driving alone, but at a time that's competitive with driving alone, and that is completely on demand. We're going to be using smaller transit type vans that accommodate up to 8 passengers for this pilot. Each vehicle will be accessible to both wheelchairs and mobility devices more widely, and can also accommodate up to 2 bicycles on racks on the front of the vehicle. Lastly, it's going to be free to the public. There's also going to be no eligibility criteria. Anyone can ride, whether you're an older adult, person with disability, high schooler, commuter, anyone is eligible to ride. A little more on the service area itself. We have a helpful map with some landmarks on the right. The neighborhoods that are going to be served are South Cooper Mountain, Progress Ridge, River Terrace, and Murray Hill, allowing for connections to really key destinations like Mountainside High School, the various town centers and shopping centers in the area, Cooper Mountain Nature Park. We know there's a fair amount of affordable housing going in. On this map, you'll see affordable housing developments on either side of Mountainside High School. And last but not least, shopping at Walmart and other shopping destinations. Now, we're also going to provide connections outside of this service area to and from a transit center. And we evaluated a few transit centers. Ultimately, we selected Washington Square Transit Center to provide this connection to. It provides connections or transfer opportunities to a number of TriMet lines that open up access to other parts of Washington County, like Beaverton, Tigard, Tualatin, access to downtown Portland and OHSU, to Sunset Transit Center and the Max Light Rail. But we also selected Washington Square because it's a destination in and of itself. We anticipated there might be people who live in the service area who might either work at Washington Square or want to go there for shopping or other reasons. So wanted to open that up as a destination. Thank you. Now I'm going to hand it back to Reza to cover our work and engagement and outreach throughout the summer.
Thanks, John. We had a pretty extensive schedule throughout the spring and summer to get the word out about this pilot project opportunity and to gauge feedback and suggestions from the community on what they would like to see out of the service. We went to several community participation organization meetings, Beaverton Neighborhood Association committee meetings. We attended a couple of modal committees for Tigard and Beaverton. We also did a lot of tabling at certain events like Bike Beaverton. We went to farmers markets. You can see down the list there. We went to Murray Shoals Library in the neighborhood. We also did some pop-up tabling at New Seasons Market outside in Progress Ridge. And it was a good opportunity for us to chat with folks, some of whom lived in the area, a lot of whom didn't. So it was a bit of it took an effort on our part to make sure we got the word out to the community about this opportunity. We also tried to work with the school district as well for Mountainside High School to make sure that students there were aware of the service coming up, especially those who take advantage of the summer pass program that TriMet offers, so that they'd be aware of this new option coming up. We also did a online open house in May, and it was pretty cool. We had an online map that we allowed folks to input where they wanted to go using microtransit in the community. So you can see the map, that heat map on the right there, just kind of giving you a sense of where people were interested in taking the service. It also helped us define the service boundary and the hours and determine what our priority TriMet connection would be, which was Washington Square. And then just a bit of a sneak preview. We haven't publicly launched this yet, but the name of the service will be SPOT. So it stands for Shared Public On-Demand Transit. You can see a mock-up of the vehicle on your screen. And like John said, these are not going to be your typical 14-passenger cutaway buses. These are more like shuttle vans. There'll be 8-passenger. And like John said, they'll have ADA securement stations and have room for 2 bikes at the front as well. So just going over next steps, we'll be launching the service. Our plan is to launch it the first full week of January. So once students are back in school from winter break, we'll be launching it at the same time to the public. And our current service hours, we're estimating to be 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Friday. There may be some wiggle room to extend that closing time a bit later in the evening. We're trying to hopefully serve perhaps those who have jobs at Washington Square and they close at 9, be able to serve those low wage jobs would be important to us. We're also going to be planning a kickoff event, probably not that first week, but a few weeks after, to be able to celebrate the launch of the pilot. And then we'll be doing ongoing service monitoring and reporting. And the great thing about Microtransit is we'll be able to make tweaks to the service as we go along. So because we're pretty much starting from a blank slate, we don't have the best sense of what the travel demand patterns are going to be using the service, but we'll know after a few months. We'll get some good data and we'll be able to make any changes in response as needed. Our current pilot end date is projected to be April of 27, so this will be a 15-month pilot. Now that seems like a pretty short time, and I would like it to be extended if possible, but we'll need to see once we get to that period what the ridership was like and whether we'll have the funding in place to potentially extend the pilot further along or not. So those will be our options once we get to that point. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for having us, and we'll take any questions if you have them.
All right, thank you. Great presentation. Appreciate it. Any questions for the team here? Mayor Beatty.
I guess not so much a question, just a comment that, we're struggling with ridership on a lot of TriMet lines now, and coming in with this, I think, is fantastic and something we've been asking about. I just want to make sure that we're putting enough effort into getting people to ride it so we can continue the funding, because what we're seeing with TriMet is like once the line goes away, people don't trust it anymore. So hopefully you could invite some elected officials out for some early riding. I was at Cooper Mountain on Sunday, even though it was pouring rain, there was nowhere to park. And so I think that's a great selling point for it to go up there with the constraints around parking. So appreciate the work on this and looking forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you, Mayor Beatty. John, do you want to just talk really briefly like what our strategy is for how we can get the word out? What you've been thinking about?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Beatty. A great question and observation. I agree that marketing of the service could make or break the pilot. I think one advantage we have is we're working with a pretty narrow and defined service area. So in terms of marketing to that community, we're going to see if we have budget to send a postcard to everyone or close to everyone who lives within the service area. We'll do some more targeted in-person opportunities at like the Altura or Amity Orchards apartment complexes. We're going to see in what ways we can partner with Mountainside High School and Washington Square in terms of getting the word out. And stay tuned. We'll likely be holding a kickoff event and ideally inviting elected officials soon after the launch of the service.
I'm going to give one piece of unsolicited, sorry, Chair, feedback to kind of the strategy here. Having worked in low-income communities a lot of my career, I think people that are living out there now already have transportation. And so getting them to switch from their transportation reliable to their jobs living far out to an unknown service, I think is going to be really difficult. And I know that we're trying to do this in part for low income communities, but if we don't have the right payer mix, so to speak, people using it, like you need the moms that make a decent income to ride this too. And if you're solely focused on low income families, or not solely, majority, they're not going to bite. They have too much on the line with their job to take an unreliable, untested service. So like, please expand beyond the 2 low income housing projects here and go door to door in the $1 million home range, because the moms that are trying to save the planet in their $1 million homes need to ride this just as much as our low income community. And the end result can't be that we couldn't convince low income people for 6 months to change a daily habit. It needs to be broader than that.
Thank you.
That was a great point. Mayor Pace.
Thank you. I know you said it was free to the users. Can you just quickly, Reader's Digest version, go over the funding, who's funding this? You said it was the state.
Yes, we received a state stiff discretionary grant. So the same pool of funds where the employee payroll tax goes into, ODOT has a solicitation for a discretionary grant every 2 years, and it can be used to fund a variety of projects, planning, capital, pilot projects such as this. It can't be used to pay for ongoing service, which makes sense because it's such a finite period for the pilot and for the grant period. And so, John, do you remember exactly how much? I think it was like the total cost of the pilot is around $730,000. And that includes operations, but also the planning work involved to get this set up, hiring a vendor to do the software integration for the system, and staff time as well. So
like hardware, like we're starting from scratch. Like
yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Reza.
Sure, absolutely.
Sorry, Reza, one thing you left out was vehicles. That was a big upfront cost.
Yes, thank you.
So yeah, a lot of startup costs involved, and hopefully ongoing operations costs will be lower.
Thank you.
And the benefit of that too is that we're starting with this new brand Spot, but the idea is that, like John mentioned, if this has promise here, we could potentially pilot or translate the service model to other parts of the county that are in need of more service, and we would likely use the same branding and type of vehicles for future microtransit endeavors in Washington County. So this is really a test case for us to see how it works out.
Okay. Thank you.
If I could just take a little chair discretion just to follow on to that, if once the grant is used up, if it's a successful program, is there a commitment from the state to continue to fund it, or does it hit the county's general fund? I'm just curious what assuming this works really well, what the long-term funding mechanism looks like.
That is a great question. And something that we've been thinking about. So just a little bit of background. This area is part of TriMet's Forward Together plan. So before their recent budget struggles, there was a plan to extend fixed route bus service to this area anyway. But now that timeline's been pushed back, of course, because of their current struggles. And so the original idea for this pilot was that we could maybe test out this new service mode for a couple years, and then TriMet could then extend their service along Shoals Ferry to South Covert Mountain and River Terrace, and it kind of be a seamless transition. That's not looking like the case now. And so we will need to potentially look at what other funding sources are at our disposal once the pilot runs out. We have the transportation bill that passed in legislature this year, that 1% extra stiff revenue. That's that's not looking as likely now because of the potential referendum, but we were thinking initially that we could use that extra 1% of funding to help pay to extend the pilot because we think there will be a need, of course, beyond the 15 months. There's other grant sources, funding sources that we could be looking at as well. We'll be taking a look at everything in our disposal to see what might be what options we might have to potentially extend some kind of service here until TriMet is able to extend their fixed route bus. But short answer is we haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, it's significant capital investment for.
Yeah, and I wanted to just quickly clarify one thing Reza said. So it's a 0.1% increase.
Right,
so
correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, doubling of the current
one. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, right.
Thank you, Mayor Kirk.
Well, if you want to have your second location to try this great program at, City of Banks is very up to doing it for you. We do know that we have ride connection already, but the hours are pretty limited. So a lot of people that work the off hours or even just going to PCC Rock Creek, they can't go until certain times. This would be great to start out our way, especially if you guys haven't heard yet. Starting next spring, we're going to be stick building up to 1,100 new homes here in the next 5 to 8 years. So we will definitely get you more ridership, and down the line, it will continue.
That's great. Thank you, Mayor Kirk. I know we're thinking about potentially the impact of that expansion on Westlink service as well moving forward, and how we can improve that service for both North Plains and Banks communities. And Microtransit could be another tool in the toolbox to help serve that need. So thank you for bringing that up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Mayor O'Neill.
I like the project, the pilot. I think it has a lot of the elements we have in Wilsonville with our smart transit that our community likes and supports. I'm a little concerned about the long-term future funding. I also like the idea of extending the hours at some point to capture those jobs at the Washington Square Mall that they get off later. But just want to say very supportive, but the funding issue seems to be something that, is a big question out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Rosenthal.
Yeah,
we're running out of time, so I'll just take these last two questions.
How many vehicles will be involved in the pilot?
I can take that one. So to begin, we have 2 dedicated vehicles for the pilot. We're trying to have as much time points throughout the day in which 2 vehicles are operating at the same time. Furthermore, Ride Connection operates a network of demand responsive or door-to-door services throughout the county. So we see opportunities either during the pilot or if we receive additional funds or extended funding to possibly pull in additional vehicles and drivers from that flexible door-to-door type transportation to support the pilot during peak times and hours.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Fye.
Thank you, Chair. Am I coming through correctly?
Yep, sound right.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I was listening here. I don't have that's my comment to say that the presentation is great. The program is really great. I'm really excited for it. The question I have for you is a bit of a strategic foresight. And I'm wondering if you can talk to us about some of the safety elements that you're implementing to make sure that there isn't any loopholes or room for scammers to then harm our community members, especially moms who might be utilizing single women in general, vulnerable people, no matter what. So I just want to have that conversation and get into your blueprint of how are you going to make sure the community is safe, that there's no opportunity for scammers to get involved and scam, especially the target populations that you're targeting are pretty busy and have a lot of competing priorities. So I know that lessons learned are from the Lyft and Uber when they first started. So just if you're willing to have that conversation, I just wanted to see what you all are thinking about that safety element.
John, you want to take this one?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Fike. Great question. Take safety very seriously at Ride Connection, and at least the onboard experience. I can testify to some safety measures we would take. All of our drivers go through Ride Connection required and often mandated by the federal or state government trainings in passenger assistance, defensive driving, etc. All our vehicles are maintained on a regular basis and inspected. So the onboard experience, we take pride in it being a very safe one with few incidents. But I take your question to be more related to the app-based nature of this transportation. And this is really our first experience working with on-demand app-based booking, scheduling, and dispatching system. So we're working with a trusted vendor, Spare Labs, and I think one advantage we might have from a cybersecurity perspective is we're not taking credit card information. So there's, I guess, less opportunity for that to be involved in any scam or anything like that. But otherwise, it's a learning experience for us as well, and something I think we will take back to our software vendor to see what practices they put in place to avoid those types of situations. Again, thank you for that question. It's definitely got me thinking about some of the questions we need to ask of our vendor.
Great. Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Reza, for the presentation today. A lot of good information, and we're running just a bit behind, so we're gonna go ahead and move forward to our next agenda item. We have Rachel Sykes from the City of Tualatin here to talk about their e-scooter program. Rachel.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Like Mayor Rosner said, my name is Rachel Sykes. I'm the Public Works Director here at the City of Tualatin. Thanks for having me here to present about our e-scooter program within the City of Tualatin. It's something we've had in place for a couple years now. And apologies, I gave this presentation at the Arlen Act meeting a couple of weeks ago. So if you were on that meeting, I apologize. You will have to hear the same thing twice. But maybe you'll pick up a couple new nuggets of information. And my plan is to just, I guess, scoot you through an overview of our program, how it came to be in place, how it's going, some insights on use statistics and things like that, and some maybe lasting takeaways that you may find beneficial if you are considering, or maybe this will be a new idea that you can bring back to your own city or jurisdiction. And at the end, I'm happy to take any questions that you have about the presentation. Next slide, please. All right. So tonight, there's my agenda. Next slide, please. Getting into a brief history. So you may be wondering, why or how in the heck does a smaller suburb like the City of Tualatin have an e-scooter program? Aren't those only in big cities like Portland or places you may have traveled to? You're right. I do believe that the City of Tualatin is one of the only other cities in Oregon that has an e-scooter agreement in place with a private company. But we actually didn't necessarily seek this out. They found us. So back in 2022, we were contacted by a company called Bird. You may remember them. They were looking to expand their operations in the Portland metro area, and they were seeking cities to expand their network kind of around the city of Portland. This was right about the time that Portland was seeking a permanent vendor for their e-scooter services in Portland. They had done a larger pilot with multiple vendors, and Bird was a contender in that. So they approached the city during a time when we were in the midst of developing our community climate action plan. And we felt that this was in pretty solid alignment with the spirit of that plan. We also have pretty significant traffic issues in Tualatin and thought, hey, I mean, if this can help give folks another means of getting around the city, let's try it. So of course, we weren't sure if it was going to work. We weren't sure if the community would be receptive. We weren't sure if the memes that you see of scooters getting pulled out of the Willamette River or hanging up in trees would come to fruition in Tualatin. So we thought a one-year pilot program would be the way to go. So that is what we endeavored to do. After we did some initial work with Bird, some back and forth, they unfortunately pulled out of the agreement. They stopped operations in Oregon. I think it had something to do with probably not getting the City of Portland bid. And so we kind of were back to square one. And at this point, we were pretty excited about the notion of scooters in Tualatin, and we've done some legwork. So we decided to actually cold call Lime Scooters, who had just won the bid for operations in the City of Portland. And they quickly accepted our request to conduct a one-year pilot trial in the City of Tualatin. We were a little wonky on our timeline, so we started later in the summer of 2022. And I'll get into the specifics of the program in a minute, but spoiler alert, the one-year pilot went really well. After a check-in with our city council, we received their direction and approval to make the e-scooter operations a permanent program in Tualatin, and we have been scooting along ever since. So next slide, please. Okay, so overview of the program in Tualatin. So before the scooters went live, we really wanted to ensure that there were some parameters in place, and Lime was very easy to work with. They allow you to geofence off areas that you don't want the scooters to be operational. And so I believe you can also limit their operating hours. So the scooters are all digitally connected to kind of a master hub that Lime can control. And so I think they can know where their scooter fleet is at. They can send, signals for the scooter to shut down if it goes into an area that you don't want it to go. And as the city, we were able to geofence off as many areas as we wanted. So we decided to be pretty lax in our local controls with the idea that this was a pilot and we could build up the restrictions as needed. So be a little more reactionary as opposed to proactive. And so to start, we geofenced off our local skate park, all of the tennis and basketball courts on city parkland. We didn't really want scooters there. We talked to the school district. They didn't want scooters on school grounds. And so at the request of the district, we geofenced off all of our city school properties. And the localized controls are paired with Lime's controls that include they have to sign waivers. Every rider has to sign a waiver. And that is in an attempt to limit underage riders, obviously some acknowledgement and risk mitigation there. The other thing with Lime scooters that I think is important to point out is that they don't travel as fast as other privately owned scooters. They only top out at about 15 miles per hour, whereas I don't know about you folks, but I look outside my window and I see people on their own privately owned scooters. Those things can zip. They can go like 25 miles per hour. So the Lime scooters go a little slower in an attempt for them to be a little bit safer. We also wanted to make sure that there was good PR about the scooter program that included information about the scooters, where they're at, what they are, along with education about the rules of ridership and safe riding practices. Lime was really helpful in this endeavor, so the legwork by staff was pretty minimal. Obviously, they are running essentially a franchise business, and so they want ridership to be high as well. As you can see on the slide, we had a free ride event. We had a helmet giveaway and a chance for people to test drive the scooters in a blocked off parking lot so they could kind of get familiar and a little more comfortable with riding. And from there, they were off and running. So they operate the scooters year round in the city of Tualatin, but they do scale the size of the fleet up seasonally. Obviously, we have more riders in the spring and summer months, and so the fleet gets bigger, and then they will lower the fleet down to, I want to say maybe like 20, 25 scooters in the winter months. So next slide, please. So the scooters, people that are riding the scooters are expected to follow the same rules as bicyclists. And I do know that this has been a bone of contention with all e-scooters, at least in our community, because people do feel more comfortable riding on the sidewalk, which they're not supposed to. Bikes aren't either, I think, by Oregon law. But it can be an impediment for pedestrians on foot. We haven't had any accidents or anything that we've heard of between Lime scooters and pedestrians, and we do see people riding on the sidewalks. Our local police keeps an eye out for infractions, and if they see something, they'll just remind riders to use the bike lanes and do more of the educational route. And as far as I'm aware, we haven't ticketed anybody for unsafe or illegal scooting practices, but that is not to say that it does not happen, and it is something that we are aware of. So it is a ramification that we, I think, deal with as part of having an increased e-scooter fleet in our city. A local scooter wrangler, that's what we call him. He is present, and he comes around daily to pick up and move the scooters around the city based on usage patterns, and they have been really responsive. So that was pretty helpful to combat the worry that the scooters will just be littered all over the city, thrown in people's front yards. Lime has an internal operational policy that if a scooter hasn't moved in 24 to 36 hours, the wrangler will come up and move it elsewhere. Obviously, they want ridership, they want rides. That's how they make money, and so they are pretty Johnny on the spot when it comes to moving the scooters. If we do have an issue, they have a 24/7 hotline and a personal email that we can call to request service. That 24/7 hotline is available for anybody that's a rider. We have personal like rep that we can email if we receive a call that's an issue from a resident or something like that. And so far they have been really responsive to issues, and their customer service to us and riders has been really good. So that's been a bonus. All right, next slide, please. And then I think one more, please. There we go. Okay. So how it's been going. So overall, we feel that the Lime program has been a success in Tualatin. The pilot has, as I said, turned into permanent operations. And aside from, I think, a few complaints and the like pain of change from some residents that we experienced a bit early on, the community has been supportive as far as we can tell. The ridership volumes are exceeding what we anticipated. And we do see a number of repeat riders, meaning that this is providing some form of last mile transportation option that is currently lacking a bit in the city of Tualatin. So we are seeing people that are, arriving at the West Station and then they don't necessarily have a car parked there, or they're going to a transit station and then they are hopping on the scooter. So you can see that through the rider patterns that Lime is able to track on their dashboard. So I do think that the success has honestly come with a low level of ongoing staff time and effort. The initial lift to get the agreement drafted and the program implemented did take some staff time from us here in the Public Works Department, but the ongoing operation has been pretty minimal. And to be honest, before the request for the presentation, I hadn't really thought about Lime scooters very much for some time. So it doesn't really rise into our level of purview for very frequently. Next slide, please. So ridership. Lime has an online dashboard where we can take a look at our rider metrics. I have some snips of the metrics on the slides, this slide and the next slide. And interestingly, the kind of numbers to highlight include those along the top of the slide there, or I guess under the cumulative trips, which are our cumulative data points since Lime started operations in early September of 2022. So this is as of, I think, the end of September, but as of that kind of point, so what are we looking at, 3 full years, 6,600 riders have traveled 46,000 miles. And interestingly, the miles and distance per trip has always hovered at about that 1 mile distance, which goes back to my comments about this being a really good last mile option for those people that are on foot or taking transit as a way to connect them to their final destination in a way that's fast and a little bit more convenient. So through our agreement with Lime, we have this structured like a franchise agreement. So as we would with any other private utility, essentially operating within the city's right of way, we earn 10 cents per ride from Lime, which is a flat fee. And so quick math, we've only earned a small amount of revenue, but I think that while they are paying for use of the right of way, we understand that it is a pass-through fee to riders. And so we wanted to make sure that the fee didn't feel egregiously high, but that we were bringing in at least some revenue to cover our overhead. And the staff capacity to manage the program has been low. So if it got higher, we may need to increase the fees, but I think for now we will keep the flat fee. Next slide, please. So here's kind of a heat map slide on the dashboard that shows where trips are concentrated. And as you can see, so the use is pretty centralized around Tualatin's downtown commercial district, kind of right there in the middle. And it extends out into some neighborhood areas in the south and to the east. Primarily, we see riders stick to the main arterials and collectors. They're not going into as much of the cul-de-sacs or, areas that are a little bit farther out. So I think that has helped, I would say, quell some of the concern from people that thought that there was going to be scooters at the end of cul-de-sacs until the end of time. So next slide, please. So I think, as I said earlier, the amount of complaints we've received has been pretty low, lower than we anticipated, both during our initial rollout period and on an ongoing basis. I looked back at the first kind of year summary, and we got about 12 official complaints via the Public Works and Police Department. So that's official complaints. That's not people chattering on Nextdoor or Facebook or whatever. So I'm sure some of the anecdotal complaints were a little bit higher. But Lime's responsiveness has been really key into quelling some of the complaints and not getting people that are continuously calling with the same complaint over and over again. And so I think Lime does a good job of kind of being aware of where those residents or communities are that really don't want Lime scooters in their front yard or in their business entrance or whatever. So that's good. There's also a really high level of awareness from Lime about impediments to ADA access, so ADA ramps or making sure they're not completely blocking the sidewalks. So the proactive presence of Lime has really helped there. The second complaint that we get, I would say most frequently, is on unsafe riding practices. E-scooters, as I said, are treated the same as bikes with the same rules. And we just hear about the safety concerns with all e-scooters and e-bikes, not just exclusive to Lime. Rider behavior, as I think all of us can attest in our cities, is a little bit harder to manage people's behaviors. And Lime doesn't go as fast as other scooters, and our police will stop people that are engaged in unsafe riding practices, like blowing through a stop sign or not wearing a helmet. And we've paired up with Lime on the educational campaigns. I think that that's probably about the best that we can do. But I do know that we've heard that there may be some changes to Oregon law that are a little bit more all-encompassing on the e-scooters. So that may be helpful to police people's unsafe riding habits. The last piece of feedback that we get is that the scooters only work in Tualatin, so they automatically shut off once you get to the Tualatin city limits. This can really restrict usage, so people can only ride them to a destination here in town. They can't go further. I'm happy to report one of the places people really want to go is across the Keokuts Bridge and into the city of Tigard on the trail system. And I chatted with City of Tigard Public Works Director. So, hey, there may be some interest there. So that would be awesome to have neighboring cities and more of a network that people could utilize the Lime scooters throughout the metro area. So hint to any of our other neighboring cities. We'd love to connect about expanding the network. We've got a good agreement in place, so the legwork for staff would be minimal. So please give me a call if you're interested. But next slide, please. I'm almost done, but we offer free e-scooter use to all of our employees during the course of their daily work in Tualatin. Staff work in different buildings about a mile apart. So the use of the scooters is kind of a quick and fun way to get between buildings, save a bit on our emissions. We've let our seasonal park rangers, they use the scooters for their patrols through the park. So that's kind of a cool thing that we have worked with Lime on. And staff like it. They think it's pretty fun. So we like that for our staff. So I think that's it for that slide. Next slide, please. And just so 3 pieces of advice that we figured was worth sharing is just don't overthink it. We went the simple route. It can be as simple or as complex as you make it. You don't want to like hamstring yourself into, all of these constraints that can get in the way. So we took the lax route, and I think that was probably a good choice. It helped the staff capacity and workload associated with the program be a little bit easier for us because, again, this doesn't really live in any city department, and so Public Works picked it up. Next is iterative, I think, is probably a good approach as well. So we started less restrictive, and as things come up, we can tackle them and make rules or respond accordingly. And then lastly, we think the program would be stronger if there was connections with other cities. So again, back to my point, if anybody has any interest, please feel free to reach out to us, and I'm happy to share information. And Deputy Public Works Director Nick was kind of the guy who spearheaded this, so he would have a lot more of the in-depth information than I would, but we're happy to jump on a call with any city staff or elected officials that may want more information. So with that is the end of my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them now, or you can reach out to me offline.
Well, thank you very much, Rachel. Any questions?
I have a quick question, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rachel, great presentation. One of the slides had a scooter and then a picture of a scooter, and there was a helmet attached to it. So when you do rent these, do they come with a helmet?
They do not come with a helmet, so you're expected to provide your own helmet. And we paired with Lime to do a free helmet giveaway. So we did a helmet giveaway at some of the first kind of kickoff events. We did helmet giveaways at some of our community outreach events. And we have free helmets available for any community member. I do believe we still have some left for any community member that wants a helmet that has plans to ride Lime scooters or not, can come and get one. But the helmet does not come with the scooter, or it's not there available when they hop on and ride.
Rachel, is it a liability issue from the vendor side? Why do they not provide
so part of the waiver that the rider signs when they get that Lime app, and they need the Lime app in order to operate the scooter and pay, is that they essentially agree to a release of liability. They agree to be a safe rider. They agree that they're not under 16. So that is kind of the release of liability that Lime, I think, rests on. And then there is no necessarily liability from that perspective that the city holds as well. So that's addressed both in our franchise agreement that with them, some of that legalese, and also just with the rider assuming their responsibility for their ridership practices. So
thank you, Rachel. I'll be quiet, but last question I have for you is if Tualatin did some research on other jurisdictions that actually do require or when you rent that come with a helmet, is there other jurisdictions out there that do provide helmets?
That I do not know. We did reach out to some other cities that had Lime scooter or scooter programs just to kind of get their lessons learned. I was not involved in those conversations, so I'm not sure how much they asked about the safety controls aspect. But it's definitely a fair point to consider the safety and ridership, because I think that is one of the biggest concerns about these scooters, bikes, things like that, is that people think that they're the same as riding a regular bike or a regular scooter, which has its own safety concerns, but they're going faster and the loss of control is easier. And so I think, like I said, new laws are going to be coming in place about safe riding practices. And so like with a bike, I think if you're over 16, you're not required by law to wear a helmet. And maybe with an e-scooter or an e-bike, there may be a law that says you are required to wear a helmet no matter what age you are, just to kind of increase those safety requirements. And then that would allow our police to stop people or just kind of be a little bit more proactive in the education and safety piece. So,
all right. Thank you, Rachel. We are running behind here.
Okay.
We got two more quick questions here, hopefully. Mayor Pace.
Hi, thank you for the briefing. It's very interesting. Commissioner Fye, there is no amount of money you could pay me for me to wear a helmet that's used by the public. I see your point, but there is no amount of money that I would use a community helmet. Just want to say that. Rachel, do you have a lot of issues with litter? You know what I mean by the scooters across the street or in crosswalks or blocking sidewalks. And then, you know, I work in Portland and I often see scooters fished out of the Willamette scooters who have faced a watery death. And so I was wondering if you've been dealing with that.
So for the water, we've got a lot of wetlands in Tualatin. We've got the Tualatin River that runs through Tualatin. To my knowledge, there have been 3 scooters pulled out of the rivers and the wetlands. My street
That's not bad.
I told him, he was like, we're going to be fishing them out every week. I said, Pat, I'll give you $5 for every scooter that we find. And I've had to give him $15 so far. So it's not been bad.
Not bad.
And Lime will come out, and they will come out that same day if there's a report. So 3 is what I'm aware of. As far as the litter, they've been pretty good, and we've rarely requested that if the scooter is not getting used, please move it, please pick it up, because we don't see it sitting there for day after day. And I think the size of our fleet allows them to do that a little bit better than maybe the city of Portland. scooter fleet, which is probably much larger.
Yeah.
And so I think that there probably is some perception in our community that they sit and sit, but I don't think it's been a huge issue. I also think that our city staff, if they see something that is egregious, like if it's completely blocking an ADA ramp, I think our public works and parks maintenance crews are pretty good about moving it and taking that 30 seconds to move it. So, I mean, anecdotally, that is staff time that we spend as well, but it's not been a huge issue as far as I'm aware.
Thank you very much.
Great. And Councilor Rosenthal, a quick question.
Yeah, quick question. The greenhouse gas emission savings seems significant. Was this part of the original climate action plan, City of Tualatin, or has it been added?
I think so. They kind of came about simultaneously. I believe that e-scooter use and promotion of e-scooters and e-bikes is an action listed in our climate action plan. So maybe we put the cart before the horse a little bit, but it is included in our climate action plan. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Rachel, and for the presentation today. That was great, very informative. And if anyone else has any questions, I'm sure if you reach out to the City of Tualatin,
yeah, feel free to reach out.
Happy to help you out.
Thanks for the time.
Yep, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the Westside Transportation Alliance update. Stephen, you wanted to make some comments before we got going on that.
I did, yeah. So hopefully everybody's observing the theme here. We really wanted to try to feature some multimodal things that are happening in the county today. And this partly came about from, I don't remember if it was our last meeting or the meeting before, but some discussion around shuttle services and really wanted to understand a little bit more about that and how it's funded. And we saw the opportunity to bring that microtransit pilot in the city's e-scooter program. So really just trying to kind of get these things front and center for all of you as policymakers and thinking about what we all can collectively do in our different jurisdictions. And then Caitlin's here from Westside Transportation Alliance, and you all help fund Westside Transportation Alliance every year with an allocation of MSTIP opportunity funds. So they're a really great partner in a lot of the work that we're trying to do around the county to get folks out of their cars. So look forward to hearing from Caitlin as well. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thanks, Stephen. And as Stephen just pointed out, we have Caitlin here talk to us a little bit about their current options program that's underway. Caitlin, take it away.
Okie dokie, thanks. So hopefully you can hear me and see my screen. And so I'm Caitlin Ahearn from the Westside Transportation Alliance. I'm the program director. And happy to be here. Like I say, or like it has been said, we get some funding from the MSTIP funds, and that covers our match for our Metro RTO funding. And so that's very much appreciated. And so I'm just going to go over some stuff that we do and happy to answer questions. And, I know we're running low on time, but my email's at the end, so you can contact me anytime. All right. So who are we? The Westside Transportation Alliance, or WTA, is a nonprofit membership-based transportation management association, or a TMA. And if you're not familiar with that particular term, I have a slide on that coming right up. And so we deliver customized programs and services in partnership with employers and public agencies to increase transportation options usage in Washington County and the region. And by transportation options, we mean anything besides driving alone is what we provide resources for and services and encourage. So carpooling, transit, walking, biking, scooting, remote work, all that good stuff. And our work is made possible with support from viewers like you and also Metro and the Federal Transit Administration. So I mentioned we're a TMA, and in case you're not familiar with the industry jargon, a Transportation Management Association, which is also sometimes known as a Transportation Management Organization, or TMO, is just an organization that helps manage the transportation needs of a particular venue, district, or community. And so we work mostly in Washington County and a little bit in the greater region, depending on where our members are. And we mostly focus on commutes. We also do some work on non-commute trips, but it's mostly commutes because we work with employers. And some more local examples that you may or may not have heard of are Go Lloyd, which does similar work in the Lloyd District in Portland, and also Explore Washington Park, which is also in Portland in the Washington Park area, which is where the zoo is, the Rose Garden, the Arboretum. They have a shuttle that can help people get around and not have to worry about parking. Here's our staff. I wanted to let you see all of our faces. There's 4 of us right now. So Jeff Pazdowski is our executive director. I'm our program director. And we also have Jordan Del Valle Tenoyan and Michelle Canoke working on various programs like micromobility, incentive programs. We have some equity focused work. And Michelle also does outreach to the local community and businesses. And so I mentioned we're a membership-based organization. And so our members are, I'll show you who our members are, but it's a mix of all sorts of different organizations. And so we have public and private organizations across the county and the region. We have employers from sectors like manufacturing, housing, education, the arts. We have local governments and city partners. We also partner with chambers of commerce, business associations, and fellow nonprofits for some of our work. And we have some partnerships with bike shops, and that also helps us do some of our, bike lending work and also get repairs done and, help them promote their services. And so here's all of our members. Here's all the logos. And so if you see yourself on there, thank you for being a member. If you don't see yourself on there and you would like to be a member, just let me know. We're always happy to discuss options for membership. And so you may notice some major employers from recognizable brands like Intel, Nike, Columbia Sportswear, as well as some various jurisdictions. The county itself is a member of ours. And here's kind of a rough map of where most of our members are. And so a lot of our members have multiple locations. And most of it's concentrated in Washington County because that's our primary focus area, and a lot of it along, the major transportation corridors because that's where employers are. And we also have some little dots in Portland, and that's because as long as you have a location in Washington County, we can also serve your other locations as long as it's within the metro region because that's where we get the majority of our funding. And so a lot of places have other locations, like Columbia has some locations in Portland, so we also serve those. Okay, so I'll talk about our programs and what we can all accomplish together. We provide resources for employee transportation coordinators, or ETCs. There's another acronym for you. And ETCs include all sorts of different job types. And so it's anyone who is responsible for or helps with employee transportation, both getting to and from the workplace and also within the campus if you have transportation options within the campus. And so that might be someone's whole job. That might be like a part of someone's job, like big or small. It might be like a voluntold situation. It might be like an employee committee. So we help out anyone who's working on, employee transportation. And so that might include custom transportation demand management, or TDM solutions. There's another acronym. And all of this helps reduce parking demand, vehicle emissions, and facility costs. Parking is very expensive. And so if you're hiring a lot and you need to build more parking, that's real expensive. And so if you want to work with us to come up with some programs to help you maybe avoid building more parking, that could be beneficial to your organization. We can also partner on grant opportunities, speaking of funding, that would benefit your employees. We have ready to go communication toolkits, templates, tailored resources for your workplace. All of our stuff is customized. And so it's not just like a one size fits all. We really want to work with our members to, make stuff that works for their employees. We can also create customized challenges, events, incentives, and that's all on the gettherooregon.org platform. That's a free website. It's a free statewide website, and you can log your trips on there and earn prizes and be included in challenges and like prize drawings. And also you can look for carpool matching there. That's like a really nice feature. And then also if you're an ETC and you want to like get all that data and like be involved with incentive programs and challenges and stuff, we can help you with that and make you a network manager for your workplace network. So there's all sorts of different stuff you could do with that Get There site. We provide responsive and high quality services that meet employees' mobility needs. Like I say, everything we do is customized. And so that might involve incentives, like I mentioned. We do personalized route planning and consultations. That's another free service we can offer for anyone. If you're thinking about like trying a new commute, or like you want a bike, but you're not sure the safest route, like we can help you with all of that and kind of help you plan your route, because like, you know, we do that. And so we have that knowledge. We do activity tables at, you know, if you have a benefit fair or something like that, we can come and have a table with commute resources and like activities. An example is this "How was your commute today" activity. That's just a little magnet board, and you can put like a little emoji magnet, but depending on like, how was your commute? Was it terrible? Was it great? Like, how did you feel? And what did you use to commute? And so that's just like an interesting little informal data collection thing. And you can also just like think about, you know, how was my commute? Do I want to try something new? I don't know. And so we also have like, we can do classes and workshops. We now have a league cycling instructor on staff. Jordan just got his certification from the American League of Bicyclists, League of American Bicyclists, I think. So he's a league cycling instructor. We can create green travel maps. An example is also shown of that. That was from the Beaverton Night Market, and we did a bike valet, and we also made this map for people that shows like the different transit ways to get there and like bike routes and stuff, so you can get to that event without driving and not worry about parking. And like I say, we can help with carpool and ride matching with Get There, van pool stuff, all sorts of stuff. Pretty much anything you need, we want to help provide. So we have a priority commuters program, and that's our equity focused incentive programming. And this came out of an equity work group that we did starting in 2020. It was like 2020, 2021. We had a work group with various representatives of our members to talk about how we can, you know, do better with our equity focused work. And so we also did some surveying and focus groups at employer sites. And so this whole program is kind of focused on, you know, helping people who needed a little more, you know, underserved community members who, you know, may not have been served by the transit system in the best way in the past. So we're, you know, we're doing a part in that way. And so in order to be eligible for this program, you just have to go on our website, and then we have a little survey that you can take, and that'll ask you various questions, and then it'll get you into that program and get you eligible for these extra incentives. And so eligibility might include things like being eligible for TriMet's Reduced Fare program, being enrolled as a student receiving a Pell Grant, living in a higher medium disparity census tract as defined by the Oregon Social Equity Index, or depending on what kind of work you do, like shift work, like or like overnight, things that aren't, it's a little harder to get to work, you know, especially if you don't have a car. And so that's who we're focusing on with this program. One pretty fun thing that we do is we provide shared micro-mobility programming. And so this photo is from a pilot program with Nike employees, where we had a bike loan program. And so people could take an e-bike home for a month and kind of try it out for a small fee, and then see if it's a good fit for them, because e-bikes are like super popular and also like really useful. Like I find for me, it's a like really nice car replacement, because you can, you know, go faster, you don't have to sweat. And it's just like, you know, a lower barrier to getting around on a bike, I find. And there's all sorts of different types of e-bikes you can get, like cargo bikes and recumbent bikes and like, you know, all sorts of stuff, trikes. And so letting people try that out for a month. We also have like an upcoming big Westside bike share coming next year that we got a grant from the state for. And that'll have all sorts of different e-bikes. And so that's like kind of, you know, try it before you buy it, because it can be a large investment. it's a couple $1,000s, which is significant. And so if you can at least try it out and see if it's a good fit for you before investing all that money, that's what we're trying to help with here. And that gets, focuses on behavior change, which is what we work on. And so if we can just help people get closer to, a commute mode that they're interested in, that's what we love to help with. Okay, just making sure I didn't skip something. Okay, and we walk the walk, roll the roll. We practice what we preach. We have ourselves an e-bike fleet that we can use as staff. And we got that through a generous grant from the PGE Drive Change Fund and the DEQ Oregon Clean Fuels Program. And so we have a regular e-bike that can tow things. We have a cargo bike that can also tow things, and this trailer that can carry more bikes, which is useful for our bike lending programs and bike share programs. And so we can go to events and like take all our stuff without having to drive a car or rent a truck. And they're also like a big hit when we're at events. People are like, what, did you take all your stuff on that? Like, what is that? So it's a nice like proof of concept kind of thing to show like all the different things you can do with an e-bike. So it's pretty fun. Nice to show off. One of our more popular benefits is doing eco surveys for people. So the EGO program, or Employee Commute Options Program, is through DEQ. And through that rule, if you have 100 or more employees, you have to submit a commute survey every 2 years, and you have to get 75% response rate, which is like a big ask. And so we pretty much do that for people, for our members. Some of them do it on their own, but we do it for most of our members. And so we pretty much create the survey and like analyze all the data. All they have to do is get the link out to their employees. And then we can also ask whatever questions you want to ask. Like, it's a good opportunity to just get as much employee information as you want. So like satisfaction rates, etc., because you have to get that 75% response rate. And we can use that data, with like motivations and what people are interested in order to like make like strategies, like do actual programs. Like you can see what people are actually interested in so that you can create programs or continue programs or whatever. So it's good information to have. And so with that information, we can track some long-term commute trends. And this is from a 10-year, it's not quite 10 years, but it's a before and after the pandemic. We looked at some mode data from the eco surveys and how driving, dipped down because more people were teleworking, and now it's coming back up because more people are bringing their employees back to work or back to the office. And so that's interesting to look at. So we got another big grant from the state, or we're a part of another big grant from the state with the city of Hillsborough to do like a big commute study using more of this eco data for like the whole county. And so that'll be super interesting. That'll be over the next 3 years. So we'll have a lot more information. But like I said, from that information, we can come up with some strategies like you don't need to like not drive every day. You can like start with a day a week, making sure to actually publicize what your workplace is already offering, making sure your policies reflect the hybrid workplace if you haven't updated them since that. And I can send a link actually to this report. It's just a small report, and so I can share that. And just to wrap up, we have a couple member testimonials. One of them is from Courtney Martin at Intel, saying WTA support has been instrumental in helping Intel advance our sustainable commuting strategy. And one from Leica Studios, who says WTA is a long-term partner in helping us strengthen sustainable commuting options for our employees. That's from Carla. This is the last thing I'll leave you with. So based on some responses, almost 2,000 responses to post-pandemic eco surveys, we haven't asked this yet on all of our surveys, but when we did ask, how do you feel about how much you drive? I'd like to drive more. I'm happy with how much I drive. I'd like to drive less. And an option for like, I don't drive at all, or I don't have access to driving. 40% would like to drive less. So that's a big demand, I think, for our work. And so that just shows how important this work is in our community, that people want it and need it. Driving's expensive. And so any way we can continue doing this work and helping people who would like to do this is good. So keep that in mind. 40% want to drive less. And so thanks. So that's my email address, caitlin@wta-tma.org. Contact me anytime if you have questions. And I'm happy to answer questions here too.
I was on mute there. Thank you very much, Caitlin, for the presentation. Super informative. Appreciate it. Any quick questions, because we are running quite a bit behind here? Well, Caitlin, it looks like you're off the hook for questions today, but we have your email, so everyone feel free to reach out if you want more information about the programs or want to get information about the programs to businesses in your community. So thank you, Caitlin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so we are on to regional updates. Mayor Deline, Commissioner Fye, do you have a JPAC update for us?
Yes, I do. It's this noted from the staff, it's the smallest package we've ever seen for Metro. It's like 23 pages. So basically the one big one I was looking for some feedback from this group on is information discussion item, future vision study. So there's been some meetings, Mayor Pace is involved with that group. And when I talked with the staff and Mayor Bubanik about the Metro vision, it kind of went, I know you guys can be surprised for me. I really think their vision, they don't need a separate vision from us other than, and I'm sure Gary will have feedback on this, they need to be the best collaborator and coordinator of all the cities across the and the counties across the metro region. That's really what I see their vision should be, because each city has, or each county has their own climate agenda, has their transportation system plans, all these things that we individually have at the point of activity. And really Metro, I see their capability is to help us talk across the boundaries, right? So when we're talking about us here at Washington County Coordinating Committee, what is our transportation plan? And then we kind of roll that up with the county, and then Metro gets to see Clackamas, Multnomah, and Washington counties. So I think, they've got, equity things they want to take care of. They've got other things like that. They're deeply involved in supportive housing services right now. But the big ones that affect, I think, this group, transportation and land use, I really see their position is in the collaboration. So I'll stop and give time for folks to give me feedback on if that's the message they want me to convey, or if they have something completely different that they'd like represented at Metro for JPAC.
Mayor Beatty.
Yes, I think you're right on. And I think having them do their own standalone plan that is going to be more downhill work for us is challenging. And we're already a level of government that is closest to the people, that has a lot of things going on. And so if their plan was a collaboration of our plan, that would be great. But I think if there's one more unfunded mandate to meet or be expected to rise to, or I mean, really, like this is already stuff that's done at the very local level. So I'm with you. I think you're spot on here.
Bronze this moment. Mayor Beatty and I are in alignment.
Hey, it happens on occasions. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you guys think the mayors agree on everything, and it is far from true.
Thank you. Others?
Commissioner Rosenthal.
Yeah, I just have to respond a little bit. It's not intended to be, from my understanding, it's not intended to be a vision for Metro. It's intended to be a collaborative vision for the region and just to get some broad ideas. Remember, it's a 50-year vision. It's sort of like we've seen transitions over the past 30 or 40 years from an agricultural economy, a resource economy, to a much more technological economy. It's really an attempt to get wise heads to opine on where we're going in the future and what we want to look like as a region, but it's not a metro vision.
I guess I would add, I completely agree with Mayor Deline and Mayor Beatty. I think Metro's Metro's primary role should be around collaboration and regional tools and enablement, not downhill policies. I would add too, just a shout out for economic development as a region and how do we work together on making sure we're not only bringing in new investment, new anchor organizations from an employment point of view that benefit everyone. I think that needs to be a focus as well.
I concur.
We've got a couple other ones. I don't think it'll take a lot of time. Safe Street dashboard will be presented to us, so that'll be an interesting way to cut through a bunch of the data that you see at the beginning of JPAC on the, on the casualties. And then regional rail study. I may be pretty opinion on this, but if we have one more study that we don't do anything with, I'm really going to probably lose my mind. There's so many studies we've done on these things, but there's going to be some feedback and discussion on the regional rail study. So we'll look at that in the corridors and high capacity transit. And I suppose, yeah, there's just so many on that one. And then I think that's what I got. Commissioner Nafis, did you have other stuff you think we should bring before this group before we go to Thursday's meeting?
Mayor, you did a great job. No, nothing to add.
Cool. I think you're done from JPAC.
Great, thank you. And from so that'll come down to, I guess, for an impact now. I'll give a quick update on that. In the last meeting, staff introduced and proposed they're going to do some code updates. They're mostly housekeeping amendments. I didn't see anything that we need to be concerned about, but we'll be, I believe, voting on that in the next impact meeting. The big change in there is, as you may all know, if you do an annexation or we bring new area into the Metro service boundary as a city, then Metro has to do an equivalent action on their side that all the developers and everyone have to go through. That state law was changed, so they're streamlining the code. So when you do go through that effort as a city, it's automatically brought into Metro, which sounds like a great idea to me and making it easier for our developers. But the rest of the amendments to the code are mainly housekeeping items and items related to aligning with recent statutory changes at the state level. We also got a presentation on the regional housing coordination strategy. We all saw that we saw a presentation here earlier on that. They outlined 16 potential actions. They took feedback and they're taking that to the Metro Council and Councilor Rosenthal, is that already been in front of you in terms of approving a strategy, or?
It's the draft has been in front of us in terms of the principles and stuff. We've had opportunity to comment on that, but okay. It hasn't come to us for formal approval. I think we have one more meeting and then of formal approval of moving forward, because we're required to come up with a plan by the end of the year.
Right. Great, thank you. And as I read farther in my notes, I realize here that the impact will be voting on whether we want to recommend that strategy or not. So yeah. So it's all on their website. If you have any comments or concerns, feel free to get them to me in the meantime, so I can think about how we're going to vote on that. So I think the other thing, just going through my notes here, we got an update on the Future Vision Commission, but I think Mayor Delander's already covered that one, so we don't need to go over that one again. And
do you mind if I jump in, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just so everybody knows, I'm serving on the Future Vision Commission. I hear your concerns. Just to let you know, there is a plan to get community input. So it's not just coming from the Future Vision folks on that committee. There is going to be some communities solicitation and engagement. So just wanted you to know that.
Thank you, Mayor Pace. And I'll probably comment in the impact meeting. I'm really hoping that there is more scientific polling done on that, not just outreaches and Yeah, the town hall meetings are great, but I think they need to do more scientific polling on that as well. So, I think that's about it for an impact update, unless anyone has any questions. No questions. We'll move on to R1 Act. Mayor Bubenek, Mayor Wenzel, Mayor who?
Our last meeting was in October, which we already covered. So no meeting in November. We'll be meeting on December 1st. So more to come.
Great. Anything else from any of the other members?
Melinda's gone already. She's teaching.
There we go. And Northwest Act, Mayor Kirk.
I wasn't really ready to know that I was actually here. So thank you very much. We will have our meeting on December 11th. I will try to get something to the group prior to that because I think our meeting is prior to that in December. But otherwise, thank you for giving us the opportunity. And next meeting, I will definitely be prepared to give you an update.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor Kirk.
I'll add the next WCCC meeting is actually December 15th, so it'll be just after.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
That works out well. All right, and then we're just going to move on to other business. If there's any other business anyone wants to bring up, or if anyone on the committee has an update from their region, raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll give you back 4 minutes.
And Chair, if I could, I would just make the pitch too for future agenda topics. And so if anyone has suggestions, please feel free to let the chair or myself know.
Or the vice chair.
Or the vice chair.
Yes. Jeff DeLynn.
Hey, just a quick shout out. We'll be doing our community dinner for free on this coming Saturday in the new Cornelius Elementary gym. So just letting you guys know we're doing something like that for our community. It's been very well attended in the past. We'll see with the current environment how well it's attended. So, but we are doing that still.
Awesome. Mayor Pace.
If anybody's going to do listening sessions or major sessions with your communities regarding ICE, let me know. We've already done it. We have another one coming tomorrow. Happy to provide advice.
Great.
Tonight.
Good luck.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Rosenthal.
Yeah, just a quick, I think the large scale community visions for parks and nature application is open for proposals from various cities for large scale community visions on, according to the criteria that are expressed. And it closes, I think, in early January.
Great. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Well, with that, we are adjourned. You get back 3 minutes. See you later, everybody.
Thank you all.